So the Wilson's theorem is a theorem in number theory, and it basically states that p minus 1 factorial is congruent to minus 1 mod p. In other words, p minus 1 factorial plus 1 is divisible by p given that p is a prime number. So 2 is a prime number. 2 minus 1 factorial plus 1 is obviously 2, which is divisible by 2. 3 minus 1 factorial plus 1 is 3, which is obviously divisible by 3. 5 minus 1 factorial plus 1. 4 factorial is 24. 24 plus 5 is 25, and of course 5 divides 25, and so on. The equality holds, right? So I am going to go ahead and try to give a geometric or sort of a combinatorial proof of this, and we see that this has a factorial in it, so it suggests that there's some sort of ordering or sequence that is involved. And so it would be helpful if we looked at the following case. Let's say there's a circle, and on that circle are equally spaced p number of points, right? For this particular case, I'm going to say p is equal to 5, but this will hold true for any prime number. So if p is 5, these are my points: p1, p2, p3, p4, p5. And what I am trying to do is I am coming up with different sequences of these. So let's say p1, p3, p2, p4, p5, p1, just some random order. This will correspond to the p1, p3. This sequence basically corresponds to the lines that you are making. So p1, p3, p2, p4, p5 is basically p1 to p3, then p2, then p4, then p5. And then basically the first 5 terms, or the first p terms in general, are what determines your sequence, because the last term of the sequence has to be the one that you started with, because it has to come back over there, right? So the question that I'm asking is, okay, so there are these different ordering of p1, p2 all the way to pn's, and so the question is, how many different p-gons how many different p-gons can I make? So we see that there will be p factorial different ordering of these. This is just simple permutations. There are 5 choices, 4 choices, 3, 2, 1, and so on. But we can clearly see that there will be repetitions. So the sequence p, this particular sequence, can be attained whether I choose this starting point, 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 right? If let's say I start from here, so p3, p2, p4, p5, p1, and then of course we end at p3. This will just be the same. This will give you the same polygon as this one, right? And so since there are p number of starting points, we divide this by p, but we're still not done, because realize that even if you focus on just one starting point, so let me remove all of this. If you focus on just one starting point, there are actually 2 different sequences that you can attain the same p-gon. So here I chose p1, p3, p2, and so on, but I can go in reverse and say p1 to p5, and then p4, and then so on, right? So if I go this way, p1, p5, p4, p2, p3, p1, this will still give me the same p-gon, and so I need to multiply this by 2, and this will give me the total number of p-gons that I can get. So the total, let's say t, is p factorial over 2p. We can divide the different types of p-gons into 2. They can be either regular or they can be irregular, and I will define regularity in just a bit. Irregular. So let me take the same random 5 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's say I draw a regular pentagon, right? Regular pentagon. So this is p1, p2, p3, p4, p4, p5. Now the special thing about this pentagon is that I can rotate this, right? And after I rotate, this becomes my new P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. After I rotate this, it still gives me the same polygon. It still gives me the same pentagon, or you could say the same pentagon in this case, right? So if it is a pentagon is regular if it has a rotational symmetry of 2 pi over p, right? And it will either be the case that it will have a rotational symmetry of 2 pi over p, or it will have no rotational symmetry. In other words, it will have a rotational symmetry of 2 pi, right? So I would have to rotate this a whole 360 degrees in order to get back to the same polygon, right? If I rotate this, let's say if I rotate this much, it will give me a different polygon, and then this much a different polygon, until I eventually come back to my starting point. It will be helpful to us if we counted how many regular polygons there can be, and actually there's a simple algorithm that you can follow to make those different regular pegons. So here is one of them, and let me make another. Let's say 1 2 3 4 5. So here I was making jumps of +1, and that resulted in the regularity, which basically implies that there will be rotational symmetry. If instead I make a jump of +2, it will still hold. So this is P1, I jump to P3, and then I jump to P5, and then I jump to P2, and then P4, and then back to P1. This gives me sort of a star shape, and here I have made jumps of +2, and this gave me another one, right? So these are the only two regular pegons for p equals 5. If I do, let's say if I do jumps of 3, so 1 2 3 4 5. If I do jumps of 3, I go here, and then I go here, and then here, and then here, and then here. Notice how these both are similar. So when we are counting these, we realize that there are p minus 1 over 2 regular pegons. Because if I have a circle, let's say here's p1, p2, all the way to p minus 1 over 2, p plus 1 over 2, p plus 1 over 2, and then this also continues to pn, to pp, pp. So I can keep on doing the plus thing, the +1, +2, +3, until I reach plus p minus 1 over 2. Right, so when I reach plus p minus 1 over 2, it will go here, and then somewhere over here, and so on. But the moment I go beyond that, the moment I say p plus 1 over 2, this will be the same as something else, because you would basically be going in reverse. So if I look at p5, it can leave remainders of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, we disregard the 0 because I cannot make jumps of 0. Now 1 is of course congruent to 1 mod 5, but if I take the other end, 4 is congruent to -1 mod 5. So if I took jumps of 4 over here, if I made jumps of 4, that 1 2 3 4 I go here, and then 1 2 3 4 I go here, I would basically be going in reverse. So there are p minus 1 relevant remainders of any prime number p for us, and then of those, half of them will give us a unique pgon, because this one is just this one in reverse order, this one is this one in reverse order, and it goes on for any 1 2 3 all the way to p, let's say p of p minus 1, p of p minus 2. Right, p minus 1, and then p, and then just this. So p minus 1 with this, and this with this, are basically will give us the same polygon. So basically, just to give you another example, just to be sure, 2 is congruent to 2 mod 5, but 3 is also congruent to minus 2 mod 5, right? It's like you're looking from here and then you're looking from here and then plus 2 from here, plus 2 from here, and so on, right? So that's why there will be p minus 1 over 2 regular polygons. So one thing I haven't confirmed to you is, if you follow this algorithm, that take this circle, here are different points on it, plus 1, then plus 2, then plus 3, how are you sure that you will land at all the points exactly once? So this is basically a result of p being prime. If I, let's say, okay, so if a and b are elements of 1, 2, 3 all the way to p minus 1, right, and you basically multiply a by b, then every a multiplied by b will give us some unique mod p. So if I make a table over here, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and make one over here 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So of course, in the case of 1, this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mod 7, and of course all of these would be unique. If you look at 2, there's 2, 4, 6, and then 8 is just 1 mod 7, 10 is just 3 mod 7, 12 is just 5 mod 7, all unique. If you look at 3, 6, 9 is 2 mod 7, 12 is 5 mod 7, and then 3 5s are 15, 1 mod 7, 3 6 are 18, which is 4 mod 7, all unique, right? So sort of a loose proof for this is the following. Consider if you have p rings that are attached together like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rings, let's say, and I number them 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say you start at 2. Oh, sorry, let's say you start at 0, right? And you make jumps of 2. So plus 2, you land at 2, plus 2, you land at 4, then you land at 6. And then from 6, you land at 1, and then 3, and then 5, and then 0, until you eventually come to 0 and everything is covered. So if we concentrate on any a, and let's say b can be anything from 1, 2, 3 all the way to p, then a times b is only equal to 0 mod p if b is equal to p, right? All I'm saying is that if you're making jumps of some plus a, right, you start from 0 and then you make jumps of plus a, the only way you are coming back to 0 is if you have made p moves, right? If you have made p moves. So we see that, okay, so let's take another example. Let's say now you're making jumps of 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. You start from 0, you make jump of 3, you end up at 3, jump of 3, end up at 6. Now, since we haven't made p moves yet, we would not end up at 0. If we basically we have to move forward. We have made one revolution, we are going on to another revolution, and we cannot land at 0, so we land at some, let me choose a different color for this new revolution. Now we are going to end up at 2. 1, 2, 3, yeah, we're going to end up at 2. So since we cannot land at 0, we landed at 2. Now the only way that I land up at 3 again is if I land up at 0, and I will only land up at 0 if I have made p moves already, right? So here we can see that if we keep doing plus a in circles, it will cover every single one of these rings, simply because I cannot land at a previous number. Let's say if someone says that you might land up at 6, well, in order to land up at 6 in my previous move, I must have landed at 3. In order to land at 3, I must have landed at 0 in the previous move, and I can only land up at 0 if I have made p moves. So we have proven that if we are making this many moves, then a multiplied by b, if you concentrate on some a and then you multiply it by 1, then by 2, then by 3, it will give you a unique mod p. And since it will give you a unique mod p, we can be sure that it will give us a p-gon, a unique p-gon. So looking back, we have proven that p factorial over p over 2p is the total, right, out of which p minus 1 over 2 are regular and the rest would basically be regular. So p factorial, this is regular, p factorial over 2p minus p minus 1 over 2, these lots of irregular polygons. Now the special thing about irregular p-gons, I kept saying polygons but I meant p-gons. The special thing is, if I rotate this, I get a new polygon, right? If I rotate this, if I make my p2 p1 p3 p2 and so on, so if I rotate this, I get a new polygon. So there are, let's do some algebra. There are p minus 1 factorial minus p minus 1 over 2 of irregular p-gons. Sorry, this should be a bracket here. So if we take the half out, we get p minus 1 factorial plus 1 minus p, right? So one thing to notice is that these are the number of irregular p-gons, and if we have some irregular p-gons and I can rotate them, let's say I do a shift of plus 1, I get a new p-gon, I do a shift of plus 2, new p-gon, plus 3, plus 4, and then of course the original plus 0. In other words, there are, for one single irregular p-gon, there are p different sequences for it, right? If you're rotating it like this, so there'll be p different sequences for it. In other words, this stuff is divisible by p. Now this is only divisible by p if this portion is divisible by p. This portion is divisible by p, right? Because this is already a multiple of p. This is just p. This p minus 1 factorial plus 1 would need to be divisible by p in order that the whole thing is divisible by p. In other words, we have basically concluded our proof that p minus 1 factorial plus 1 is congruent to 0 mod p, and we are done. QED.